The sky over New Seattle glowed an angry orange, even at midday. It had been that way for years now, the new normal since the climate shifts had worsened. Tom Miller stood at the window of his small apartment, watching as another dust storm approached from the east. These storms came almost weekly now. Soon, the air filters would kick on at full power, and the building would seal itself tight. Tom checked his watch. He was due at the Global Science Foundation in 30 minutes. Today might change everything. "Are you ready?" Lisa Reed's voice came from behind him. She stood in the doorway, datapad in hand, her dark hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Her eyes, sharp and focused, reflected the same mix of hope and fear that Tom felt. "As ready as I'll ever be," Tom answered, grabbing his worn leather satchel. "Did you double-check the calculations?" Lisa nodded. "Triple-checked. The math works, Tom. It really works." They left the apartment and made their way to the underground transit system. Above them, the first winds of the dust storm began to howl. The year was 2183, and Earth was dying. Not quickly. There would be no dramatic explosion, no final moment when the planet simply gave up. Instead, it was a slow, grinding death. Resources depleted, farmlands turned to dust, oceans rising, then poisoned. Billions crowded into megacities where air had to be filtered to be breathable. Humans had tried to fix things, of course. They had cut emissions, built massive carbon capture facilities, changed their entire way of life. But it had been too little, too late. The damage was done. And then, 70 years ago, humanity had made first contact. The Galactic Council had introduced itself with great ceremony. 12 species from across the nearby stars, all advanced, all peaceful, all willing to welcome humanity into their community. They shared some technology, medical advancements, better energy systems, improved farming methods. These gifts had kept Earth alive, buying precious time. But they refused to share one thing: faster than light travel. "Your species is not ready," they had said. "Perhaps in another 1,000 years." The transit car slowed at the Global Science Foundation station. Tom and Lisa exited and passed through security. Their meeting was scheduled for the Grand Hall, where the Foundation's board and representatives from the council would hear their proposal. "I still can't believe they agreed to let us present," Lisa whispered as they walked down the long hallway. "They think we're going to fail," Tom replied. "They want to see us embarrass ourselves. Then let's surprise them." The Grand Hall was already full when they arrived. 50 human scientists and officials sat on one side of the room. On the other side, 3 alien representatives watched with expressions that ranged from boredom to mild curiosity. The tallest was Vex, ambassador from a species called the Erythi. His skin was pale blue, his eyes deep gold. He had been on Earth for 20 years and made no secret of his belief that humans were barely more than clever animals. Director Reynolds, head of the Foundation, stood to begin the meeting. "We are here today to hear a proposal from engineers Miller and Reed regarding a new propulsion system. While the Foundation is skeptical of their claims, we have agreed to give them a fair hearing." Tom stepped forward, connecting his datapad to the display system. The lights dimmed, and a holographic model appeared above the center table. "Ladies, gentlemen, and honored representatives of the council," Tom began, his voice steadier than he felt. "For the past 3 years, Engineer Reed and I have been working on what we call the graviton sail." The hologram showed a sleek spacecraft with strange, pedal-like structures extending from its hull. Current human ships can reach Mars in weeks, Jupiter in months. But the nearest star would take centuries. The Council has made it clear they will not share their FTL technology with us. Tom paused, looking directly at Vex. "So we created our own." A murmur ran through the human side of the room. The aliens remained stone-faced. Lisa stepped forward. "The graviton sail doesn't bend space or create wormholes. Instead, it manipulates quantum probability waves to create artificial gravity wells ahead of the ship. Essentially, the ship continually falls forward at accelerating speeds. She tapped her datapad, and a hologram began to move, showing the process. Our calculations show we could reach Proxima Centauri in less than 2 years. The room erupted. The human scientists jumped to their feet, shouting questions. The alien representatives leaned in, suddenly paying very close attention. Vex stood slowly, his height intimidating as he towered over the table. The room fell silent. "This is amusing," he said, his translator making his voice sound metallic and cold. "You believe you have solved a problem that took our species millennia to crack, with your limited understanding of physics. We believe we found a different approach," Lisa replied, refusing to be intimidated. "Your approach violates 7 fundamental laws of quantum mechanics," Vex said. "Your ship would tear itself apart before it left your solar system." "With respect, Ambassador," Tom said, stepping forward. "Our math says otherwise." Vex's golden eyes narrowed. "Then your math is wrong." Director Reynolds cleared his throat nervously. "Perhaps we should review the technical details." "There is nothing to review," Vex interrupted. "This technology cannot work. It is as simple as that." He turned to address the human side of the room directly. "You are an admirably optimistic species, but scientifically naive. We have traveled the stars for 50,000 years. Do you really think 2 humans in a lab could discover something we haven't?" The room fell uncomfortably silent. Tom felt his face burning with anger and embarrassment. But then, from the back of the room, a new voice spoke. "What if they have?" Everyone turned. A small, older man stood up. General Marcus Ward, head of Earth's United Defense Force. "I've reviewed their work," Ward continued. "I'm no physicist, but our best people are. And they say it could work." Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh. "Then your best people are fools." "Perhaps," Ward said calmly. "But we were fools when we first tried to fly. Fools when we went to the moon. Fools when we built the first fusion reactor." He walked toward the center of the room. "Being called fools by those who came before has never stopped us." Vex turned to his fellow council members. They spoke briefly in their own language before he turned back to the humans. "We will not support this project. Furthermore, we strongly advise against pursuing it. For your own safety." With that, the alien representatives stood and left the room. Director Reynolds sighed heavily. "I'm afraid that without council support, the Foundation cannot fund this project either. I'm sorry." The room slowly emptied until only Tom, Lisa, and General Ward remained. "That went about as expected," Tom said bitterly. "Did it?" Ward asked, a small smile forming on his weathered face. "Walk with me." They followed him out into a private garden area, where Ward checked for listening devices before speaking again. "The world governments anticipated the Council's response," he said quietly. "We've been watching them for decades. They share some technology, but hold back the important stuff. Keep us dependent. Keep us earthbound." "So what now?" Lisa asked. Ward's eyes gleamed. "Now we build your ship. In secret. Every major nation on Earth has agreed to pool resources. We've prepared a facility beneath the Mojave Desert. You'll have everything you need." Tom stared at the general in shock. "The Council will find out." "Eventually," Ward agreed. "But by then, we'll have proven them wrong." He extended his hand. "Humanity's future depends on getting to the stars on our own terms. Are you in?" Tom and Lisa exchanged a look. Then, together, they shook the general's hand. The impossible project had begun. 5 years passed like a dust storm, fast, harsh, and leaving everything changed in its wake. Deep beneath the Mojave Desert, in a facility that officially didn't exist, Tom Miller stared at the massive engine prototype hanging from reinforced ceiling cables. The graviton sail looked nothing like traditional engines. It resembled a giant metal flower with dozens of pedal-shaped panels, each covered in a maze of quantum circuitry that glowed with a soft blue light. "Beautiful, isn't it?" Lisa Reed stood beside him, dark circles under her eyes, evidence of another all-night work session. Hard to believe we started with just equations on a screen. Tom nodded, too tired for words. The past 5 years had been the hardest of his life. The secret project, now codenamed Phoenix, had grown beyond just Tom and Lisa. It now employed over 300 scientists, engineers, and security personnel, all sworn to absolute secrecy. Miller, Reed, we're ready for the meeting. The voice belonged to James Wilson, their theoretical physicist. Tall and thin with wild gray hair, James had been teaching advanced physics at Oxford when General Ward recruited him. Behind him stood Maria Garcia, their AI specialist, a quiet genius who had designed the quantum computers that made their calculations possible. Together, they formed the core team of Project Phoenix. The 4 of them walked to the central command room, where General Ward waited with several military officials and government representatives. The room fell silent as they entered. "Ladies and gentlemen," Ward began, "5 years ago, we started this project knowing 2 things: that Earth is running out of time, and that the Galactic Council has no intention of helping us leave. Today, our team will present their progress report." He nodded to Tom. "Engineer Miller, the floor is yours." Tom stepped forward, activating the holographic display in the center of the room. "When we started, we had a theory. Now we have a working model," he said. "But more importantly, we've discovered something that changes everything we thought we knew about physics." The hologram showed complex equations and field models. Lisa stepped forward to explain. "The reason the Council said our design would fail is because, according to known physics, it should. The energy required would be astronomical, and the quantum effects should cancel each other out." She paused. "But we found a flaw in the accepted understanding of quantum gravity." James Wilson joined them, his hands moving excitedly as he spoke. "Every species in the Council developed FTL travel by bending space, creating wormholes or warping space-time. But we took a completely different approach." Maria tapped her tablet, and the hologram changed to show a simulation. "We call it probability wave compression. Instead of trying to bend space, we're manipulating quantum fields to create artificial gravity wells that pull the spacecraft forward. The ship essentially falls through space at incredible speeds." General Ward frowned. "In simple terms, please." Tom smiled. "We're not breaking the rules of physics. We're exploiting a loophole. Imagine space as a sheet of fabric. Other species punch through it to make shortcuts. We're creating a downhill slope and letting gravity do the work." "And the energy requirements?" one of the officials asked. "A tenth of what would be needed for traditional FTL methods," Lisa answered, "which is why we believe the Council either doesn't know about this approach or they do, and they don't want us to know about it." General Ward finished. "Exactly," Tom said. "Either way, we're ready for the first full-scale test tomorrow." The room broke into excited murmurs. After 5 years of work, they were finally going to see if their impossible engine could actually work. The next day, everyone gathered in the test chamber, a massive underground cavern reinforced with the strongest materials available. The prototype engine was mounted in a test frame, surrounded by sensors and protective barriers. Tom, Lisa, James, and Maria stood at the control station, behind thick blast shields. Tom looked at his team, seeing his own mix of fear and hope reflected in their faces. "Ready?" he asked. 3 nods answered him. "Then let's make history," Tom said, beginning the startup sequence. The engine's pedals began to glow, first blue, then purple, then a blinding white. The air in the chamber seemed to ripple, like heat waves rising from hot pavement. "Quantum field stabilizing," Lisa reported, eyes on her readings. "Wave compression at 15%, 30%, 45%. Energy levels holding steady," Maria added. "The AI is adjusting the field harmonics automatically." James stared at his own screen, frowning. "I'm seeing some unusual patterns in the probability matrix. It's like..." He never finished his sentence. A sudden flash of light erupted from the engine, brighter than the sun. A shock wave slammed into the blast shields, cracking them. Alarms blared as emergency systems activated. When the dust settled, the test frame was destroyed. Where the engine had been, there was only a twisted mass of metal and a strange, swirling distortion in the air that slowly faded away. Jenkins, Rodriguez, Ward shouted into his communicator. The two engineers who had been manning the sensor stations closer to the engine didn't respond. They never would again. The failure hit the team hard. For 2 weeks, they analyzed what went wrong, barely sleeping, barely eating. The project was put on hold pending a full investigation. "We missed something," Tom said one night, as he and the core team sat in their small break room, surrounded by data screens and empty coffee cups. The quantum fields weren't just compressing. They were folding somehow, creating a cascade effect. James added, running simulations on his tablet. "But if we adjust the piddle configuration and add a dampening field, we could control the fold," Lisa finished, suddenly energized. "It's not a flaw in our design. It's a feature we didn't understand." Maria, who had been quiet since the accident, finally spoke up. "I've been running AI simulations nonstop. What if the reason this approach works isn't just about creating gravity wells? What if we're actually manipulating the fabric of space-time itself, just not in the way other species do it?" They worked through the night, redesigning the engine from the ground up. When General Ward arrived the next morning, they were waiting for him with new plans and simulations. "We know what went wrong," Tom said, "and we know how to fix it." Ward looked at them skeptically. "2 men died, Miller. I need more than just confidence." "It's not confidence," Lisa replied. "It's certainty. The first test proved our basic theory works. The engine did exactly what we designed it to do. It created a gravity well. We just didn't account for how powerful it would be." 3 months later, they were ready for the second test. The new prototype looked similar to the first, but with crucial differences. The pedals were arranged in a different pattern, and a secondary system, what they called the dampening ring, surrounded the main engine. This time, the test was conducted remotely, with no personnel in the chamber. The startup sequence began. The pedals glowed, the air rippled. But this time, there was no explosion. Instead, the engine hummed with power, the distortion around it stable and controlled. "It's working," Lisa whispered, staring at the readings. "Field compression at 60%, 80%, 100%. Full compression achieved." For 5 minutes, they held the field stable. Then, carefully, they shut it down. The glow faded, the distortion disappeared, and the engine remained intact. The room erupted in cheers. Tom hugged Lisa, then James, then Maria. They had done it. They had built what the council said was impossible. But as the celebration continued, Maria pulled Tom aside, her expression troubled. "There's something you should see," she said, showing him a data screen. "During the test, I detected something unusual. When we create these gravity wells, we're not just affecting the space around the engine. We're creating ripples, like waves in a pond, that spread out through space-time." "Is it dangerous?" Tom asked. Maria hesitated. "I don't know. But whatever these ripples are, they're traveling faster than light. And they're not stopping." Tom looked back at the celebrating team, at General Ward already making calls to government officials. They had overcome the impossible. They had defied the laws of physics as understood by the most advanced species in the galaxy. But as Maria's words sank in, he wondered if they had just opened a door that should have remained closed. "They're watching us more closely now," General Ward said, pointing to the satellite images displayed on the main screen. 3 more Council observation ships entered Earth orbit last week. The core team of Project Phoenix sat around the conference table in the deepest level of the MOVA facility. 8 months had passed since their successful engine test, and things had changed. The project had moved from theoretical to practical, from "can we build it?" to "when will it fly?" Tom rubbed his tired eyes. Have they said why they're increasing surveillance? Officially, they're conducting a routine survey of developing worlds. Ward replied with a bitter smile. Unofficially, we think they've detected something. Maybe those ripples Maria identified. All eyes turned to Maria, who had spent months studying the strange space-time disturbances created by their engine tests. I've managed to dampen the ripples by 60%, she reported. But we can't eliminate them completely. It's like trying to jump into a pool without making waves. Physically impossible. Lisa tapped her fingers on the table nervously. So what's our timeline now? General Ward's face hardened. The World Council met yesterday. They've decided we need to move forward immediately. The public announcement goes out tomorrow. What announcement? James asked, frowning. That Project Phoenix has been terminated due to safety concerns and treaty obligations with the Galactic Council. The room fell silent as the implication sank in. So that's it, Tom finally said. 5 years of work, and we just give up. Ward's smile returned, this time with a glint of mischief in his eyes. That's what the public announcement will say. Meanwhile, we're moving to Phase 2. He pressed a button on his tablet, and the display changed to show a massive spacecraft under construction, not on Earth, but in orbit. For the past 3 years, we've been secretly building components at facilities around the world, disguised as satellite parts or space station modules. Each piece individually looks harmless. Together, they form Phoenix, Lisa whispered, staring at the image. The ship was beautiful, sleek and purposeful, nearly 300 meters long, with a central hull surrounded by what looked like folded metal pedals. The full-scale graviton sail. Assembly began 6 months ago during scheduled maintenance blackouts of the Council's observation systems, Ward explained. We have 9 more scheduled blackouts to complete construction. Then we launch. James shook his head in disbelief. The Council will detect a launch that size. Not if we time it correctly, Maria said, understanding dawning on her face. We launch during another blackout. Exactly, Ward confirmed. Once a year, the Council's main monitoring satellite network passes through Earth's shadow cone at precisely the same time their orbital platforms perform maintenance cycles. We'll have approximately 26 minutes when their sensors are blind. And after those 26 minutes, Tom asked, once we're detected, Ward's expression turned grim. By then, it won't matter. Phoenix will activate its graviton sail and disappear. 2 months later, final preparations were underway. The ship was 95% complete. The crew had been selected, 12 of Earth's best, pilots, engineers, scientists, and medical personnel. Captain Robert Walker, a veteran of the Mars colonies, would command the mission. The core team had relocated to the hidden Launch Control Center beneath the old Kennedy Space Center. From there, they would guide Phoenix on its maiden voyage. Lisa found Tom on the observation deck late one night, staring at the stars through the reinforced glass ceiling. Can't sleep, she asked, joining him. Tom shook his head. I keep thinking about what we're asking them to do. This is a one-way mission, Lisa. Even if everything works perfectly, they'll never see Earth again. They all volunteered. Lisa reminded him. They know what's at stake. Do they? Do any of us? Tom turned to face her. Maria's latest calculations show the ripples aren't just waves in space-time. They're more like tears. We're ripping holes in reality every time we activate the sail. Lisa was silent for a moment. Does General Ward know? Yes, so does Captain Walker and his crew. They're still going. Because they have to, Lisa said softly. Earth is dying, Tom. The Council won't help us. This is our only chance. 3 days before launch, disaster struck. A Council ambassador requested an emergency meeting with Earth's leaders. Somehow, they had discovered fragments of information about Project Phoenix. The World Council acted quickly. They publicly denounced the rogue scientists who had allegedly continued research into forbidden technologies. They invited council inspectors to examine all space launch facilities to prove their compliance. And secretly, they accelerated the launch schedule. "We go tomorrow," General Ward announced to the stunned team. 300 hours. The council's inspection teams arrive at 900. "We need to be gone before they get here." "The ship isn't ready," James protested. "The navigational systems still need calibration, and the life support systems will have to be finalized in orbit." Ward cut him off. "This is no longer about building the perfect ship. This is about proving we can do it at all." Throughout the night, the team worked frantically to prepare. Communications with Phoenix were kept to a minimum to avoid detection. Captain Walker and his crew boarded with only the essentials, leaving behind tearful families who could not be told the truth about where they were going. At the control center, Tom, Lisa, James, and Maria took their positions. General Ward stood behind them, watching the countdown timer. "T-5 minutes," Tom announced, his voice steady despite his racing heart. "All systems nominal," Lisa reported. "Graviton sail is powered down but ready for activation once they reach safe distance." "Navigation coordinates locked in," James added. "Course set for Proxima Centauri." "Quantum field dampeners at maximum," Maria said. "Ripple effect should be minimal during initial launch." "T-1 minute," Tom said. Around the world, in secret bunkers and hidden facilities, government leaders and project scientists watched the feed. No one spoke. No one breathed. T-10 seconds. 9. 8. On board Phoenix, Captain Walker gripped his control panel. His crew, Earth's best and bravest, secured themselves for launch. 3, 2, 1. Launch. With no fanfare, no roaring engines, no massive plume of flame, Phoenix detached from its construction platform. Conventional thrusters, silent in the vacuum of space, pushed it away from Earth's orbit. To any observer, human or alien, it would appear to be just another satellite repositioning. "Phoenix reports clean separation," Lisa said, now entering boost phase. For 20 tense minutes, Phoenix accelerated away from Earth using standard propulsion. The Council's observation blackout would end in 6 minutes. "Time to graviton sail activation," Ward asked. 3 minutes, Tom replied. "They'll be at minimum safe distance then." The seconds ticked by with excruciating slowness. 1 minute to blackout end, Maria warned. "Phoenix reports ready for graviton sail activation," Lisa said. "Captain Walker requests final authorization." General Ward took a deep breath, then nodded. "Tell them. Godspeed." Tom sent the signal. On board Phoenix, Captain Walker received the message, then turned to his crew. "This is it," he said simply. "For Earth." He pressed the activation sequence. In the control room, all eyes were on the main display, showing Phoenix as a small blip moving away from Earth. "Graviton sail activating now," Tom reported. For a brief moment, sensors detected a massive energy surge. The blip that was Phoenix seemed to stretch, elongate, and then vanished. "Signal lost," Lisa said, her voice a mix of awe and fear. "Phoenix is gone." "Did it work?" Ward demanded. "Or did it?" "It worked," Maria interrupted, staring at her readings. "The quantum field signatures match our test models. They've successfully entered compressed space." "Council blackout ends in 10 seconds, James warned. As the countdown reached 0, the team held their breath. Would the Council immediately detect what had happened? Would they realize humans had just done the impossible? But the minutes ticked by, and no alarm sounded. No angry communications came from the Council ships in orbit. Nothing. "They don't know," Tom said finally, amazed. The launch was truly silent. General Ward nodded, satisfaction and pride warring with concern on his weathered face. "Now we wait, and hope they find what we're looking for." Maria's console suddenly beeped. She frowned, checking the readings. "What is it?" Lisa asked. "I'm detecting something strange," Maria replied. Those ripples in space-time, we were monitoring. They just changed direction. What does that mean? Ward demanded. Maria looked up, her eyes wide. I think something out there noticed us, and it's coming this way. Time behaved strangely inside the bubble created by the graviton sail. Captain Robert Walker realized this as he stared at his watch, which seemed to tick at normal speed, even though the stars outside the viewports were smeared into long streaks of light. How fast are we moving? He asked, turning to Emma Foster, the ship's physicist. Emma checked her instruments and shook her head in amazement. The sensors can't give an exact reading, Captain. We're moving faster than our equipment was designed to measure. The 12 crew members of Phoenix had settled into a routine during their first week of travel. The ship hummed around them, the graviton sail functioning beyond their expectations. There had been a moment of pure terror when the sail first activated, a violent shudder through the ship, a sensation like being stretched thin, and then smoothness. The stars had shifted into streaks, and Earth had vanished behind them. Jack Davis, the chief engineer, floated into the bridge. In the limited artificial gravity, they all moved with a light, bouncing step that still felt strange. Captain, I've completed the analysis of the sail's energy consumption, he reported. It's using only 40% of what we predicted. At this rate, we could travel for years without depleting our reserves. Good. Walker nodded. Any problems with the sail itself? Jack hesitated. Not problems, exactly. But we're seeing some strange patterns in the quantum field. Every 12 hours, there's a sort of pulse. Like a heartbeat. Dr. Foster has a theory about it. Emma brought up a holographic display showing waves of energy emanating from the ship. The sail isn't just creating a bubble of compressed space around us. It's creating something like a tunnel through space-time. These pulses are the walls of the tunnel adjusting to our passage. Walker frowned. Is it stable? So far, Emma replied. But there's something else. During each pulse, we experience what I'm calling a phase shift. For about 3 seconds, the ship partially. Well, the best way to describe it is that we partially exist outside normal space. What does that mean in practical terms? Walker asked. It means we become undetectable, Emma said. No radiation signature, no mass reading, nothing. We essentially disappear, then reappear. Could we control these phase shifts? Make them last longer? Emma considered this. Theoretically, yes, but it would require significant modifications to the sail. Walker made a note to discuss this with Earth when they made their next scheduled communication. The ability to become undetectable could be invaluable, especially if the Council was hunting for them. 3 months into their journey, far faster than their original estimate of 2 years, Phoenix encountered something unexpected. The alarm blared through the ship, jolting Walker from his sleep. He rushed to the bridge where Officer Diane Lee, his navigator, was staring at the sensor readings. What is it? Walker demanded. Something big, directly in our path, Diane reported. I've never seen readings like these before. Through the viewports, they could see it now. A massive structure floating in the emptiness of space. It was clearly a ship, but unlike any they had ever seen. Its hull was dark and angular, covered in strange symbols. It wasn't moving. How did we not detect this earlier? Walker asked. It wasn't registering on any sensors until we were almost on top of it, Diane explained. It's like it's partially phased out of normal space, similar to our own phase shifts. Walker ordered the graviton sail powered down. Phoenix slowed, the streaks of stars resolving back into points of light as they dropped to sublight speed. The mysterious vessel now hung before them, silent and imposing. Life signs? Walker asked. Medical Officer Ben Turner shook his head. None that our sensors can detect. But the ship's interior still has atmosphere and minimal power. Walker faced his crew. This is what we were sent to do, explore and learn. This ship might have technology that could help Earth. We need to investigate. A team of 4 was assembled. Walker himself, Jack to assess any technology, Emma to analyze the strange phase-shifting properties, and Ben for any biological discoveries. Suited up in their exploration gear, they took a shuttle across to the derelict vessel. Cutting through an airlock, they entered the alien ship. Their lights revealed long corridors with high ceilings. The architecture was unlike anything from Earth or the known council species. "The design is beautiful," Emma whispered, her voice filled with awe as she ran her hand along the wall. The material felt warm, almost alive, under her touch. "This ship is old," Jack said, checking his instruments. "Based on the power decay and material degradation, I'd estimate it's been drifting for at least 10,000 years." They made their way deeper into the vessel, finding what appeared to be a control room. Screens activated as they entered, displaying symbols none of them recognized. "Can we translate any of this?" Walker asked. Emma worked with her device, scanning the symbols. "It might take time, but I'm finding patterns. There are similarities to some ancient Earth languages, oddly enough." Ben called from across the room. "Captain, you need to see this." In what seemed to be a laboratory space, they found preserved specimens, plants, minerals, and what appeared to be tissue samples from dozens of different species. And on the walls, detailed star maps. "These maps," Emma said excitedly, "they showed travel routes, using the same kind of technology as our graviton sail. This civilization was using probability wave compression thousands of years ago." Jack had moved to what looked like an engine room. "Captain, their propulsion system is remarkably similar to ours in basic design, but far more advanced. This confirms our approach works and can be improved upon dramatically." Walker felt a mix of vindication and unease. Humans had independently developed technology that matched an ancient, highly advanced civilization. But what had happened to them? Why was their ship abandoned? As they continued exploring, Ben discovered a sealed chamber. Inside, they found what looked like a warning beacon, a device still active after thousands of years. Emma worked to translate its message while the others explored further. Hours later, they gathered again at the shuttle, laden with samples and data. "I've partially decoded the warning," Emma reported grimly. "From what I can gather, this civilization encountered something they called the Silence during their travels using this technology." "The Silence?" Walker asked. "An entity or phenomenon that hunts ships traveling through compressed space." Emma explained. "The ripples we create, the tears in space-time, attract it. They tried to hide from it by developing the phase-shifting technology. But what?" Ben prompted. "But they failed," Emma finished. "Their final log entries suggest they were being systematically hunted. This ship managed to send out a warning before it was abandoned." Walker thought of Earth, of the message Maria had sent just before they launched, that the ripples had changed direction, that something was coming. As they returned to Phoenix, Jack brought one final discovery, a small device that appeared to be an enhanced version of their phase shift technology. "With this, we might be able to extend our phase shifts from seconds to hours," he explained. "If this silence is real, and if it's hunting us, this could be our only defense." Back aboard Phoenix, Walker faced a difficult decision. They were 3 months into their journey to Proxima Centauri. They could turn back, warn Earth about the silence, but that would mean abandoning their mission. As he weighed his options, Diane called from the bridge. "Captain, we're receiving a transmission." It's impossible." "What is it?" Walker asked, hurrying to join her. "It's from Proxima Centauri," Diane said, her voice shaking. "It's in English." The crew gathered around as Walker played the message. Through static and distortion, a human voice spoke. "To any Earth vessel receiving this transmission, this is Outpost 1 at Proxima Centauri. We need immediate assistance. The Council is here, harvesting our world. They've known about this planet for centuries. Please help us. We don't have much time." The message ended, leaving the bridge in stunned silence. "How is this possible?" Ben asked. "Humans at Proxima Centauri." Walker's mind raced with possibilities. "Set course for the signal origin," he ordered. "Maximum speed." As Phoenix accelerated again, the graviton sail activating around them, Walker stared into the streaked stars ahead. The Council had lied to humanity. There was already a habitable planet at Proxima Centauri, and humans were somehow already there. And somewhere behind them, drawn by the tears they left in space-time, the silence was following. The blue-green planet hung before them like a jewel against the blackness of space. After 13 months of travel, a journey that should have taken centuries, Phoenix had arrived at Proxima Centauri. "It looks like Earth," whispered Diane, her eyes wide as she stared at the main view screen. "Like Earth before everything went wrong." Captain Walker stood in silence, taking in the sight. A habitable world. Oceans, clouds, continents with stretches of green. And according to their scans, breathable atmosphere. Everything humanity had been searching for. "Can we confirm the source of the transmission?" he asked finally. Jack adjusted the sensors. Signal originated from the northern continent, near that mountain range. He pointed to a spot on the screen. "But Captain, I'm detecting something else, in orbit around the planet." The view screen shifted, focusing on several large vessels in high orbit. Their sleek designs were unmistakable. "Council ships," Emma confirmed. "At least 5 of them." Walker's jaw tightened. "Are they aware of our presence?" "I don't think so," Jack replied. "We exited compressed space while still behind the system's gas giant, and we're running minimal power. Unless they're specifically scanning for us, we should remain undetected." "The phase shift technology we salvaged from the derelict ship," Walker said. "Is it operational?" Jack nodded. "We've integrated it into our systems. We can maintain a phase shift for approximately 6 hours before needing to recharge." "Activate it," Walker ordered. "Let's get closer without being seen." The ship hummed as the phase shift engaged. A strange sensation washed over the crew, like being submerged in water, but still able to breathe. Through the viewports, the stars took on a bluish tinge. Phoenix moved silently toward the planet, passing the Council ships without triggering any alarms. As they entered low orbit, they scanned the surface more thoroughly. "I'm detecting artificial structures across the planet," Emma reported. "And mining operations, massive ones." Ben, who had been analyzing the biological readings, looked up in shock. "Captain, the life signs on the planet. They're human. Thousands of them." The crew exchanged confused glances. How could humans be here? Earth had never sent a colony ship to Proxima Centauri. "I'm picking up the transmission source," Diane announced. "It's coming from that settlement near the largest mining operation." Walker made his decision. "We'll take the shuttle down." Phase shifted. "We need answers." Hours later, Walker led a small team, Emma, Jack, and Ben, through the outskirts of what appeared to be a human mining colony. Thanks to the phase shift technology, they moved like ghosts, unseen by the workers who passed by them. The colony was a rough place. Prefabricated buildings, heavy machinery, and tired-looking people working under the watchful eyes of armed guards. But the guards weren't human. They were Arathi, Vex's species. "This isn't a colony," Emma whispered. "It's a labor camp." They followed the transmission signal to a small building away from the main settlement. Once inside, they deactivated their phase shift devices, becoming solid in normal space again. "Hello," Walker called out. "We received your transmission. We're from Earth." A panel in the floor slid open, and a woman emerged from a hidden room beneath. She was older, with streaks of gray in her dark hair, but her eyes were sharp and alert. She stared at them in disbelief. "You actually came," she said. After all this time, Earth finally responded. Her name was Kate Williams, and over the next hour, she told them a story that shattered everything they thought they knew. The Council discovered this planet over 200 years ago. she explained. An Earth-like world rich in rare minerals and elements, especially gallium oxide crystals, which are essential for their FTL technology. But humans, Walker began, were brought here as slaves, Kate finished. The Council, particularly the Erethi, have been secretly abducting humans for generations. Small groups from remote areas, people who wouldn't be missed. They'd bring them here to work the mines because the atmosphere is perfect for us, but harmful to most Council species over long exposure. How many humans are here? Ben asked. Nearly 10,000 now, Kate replied. We've been here for generations. Some families can trace their lineage back to the first abductions in the early 21st century. Jack shook his head in disbelief. The Council presented themselves as peaceful explorers. They said they wanted to help humanity. They needed to control Earth, Kate explained. Keep us dependent, keep us earthbound. They fear humans more than any other species they've encountered. Why? Emma asked. Because of how quickly we advance, Kate said. Most species take thousands of years to develop the technologies that humans created in mere centuries. The Council believes that if humans ever reached the stars on our own terms, we would eventually outpace them. Walker thought of the graviton sail, technology that even the ancient civilization they'd discovered had taken millennia to perfect. Humans had done it in just 5 years. The transmission, Walker said. Why now? Kate's expression darkened. The Council is accelerating their operations. They're stripping this planet faster than ever before. And once they're done, they won't need us anymore. She paused. We intercepted communications. They're planning to eliminate all humans here once the mining is complete. The team was silent as the implications sank in. We have to get this information back to Earth, Walker said finally. The world needs to know what the Council really is. How? Kate asked. The Council ships in orbit would detect any transmission powerful enough to reach Earth. Jack smiled for the first time. Not if it travels through compressed space. He explained about the graviton sail, about how they had developed FTL technology, despite the Council's claims it was impossible. Kate's eyes filled with tears. Then there's hope. They formulated a plan. Phoenix would use its phase shift technology to remain hidden while they gathered evidence of the Council's operations. Then they would send a small, unmanned probe back to Earth using a miniature version of the graviton sail. The probe would carry all the evidence, images, data, and testimonies from the human captives. As they prepared to return to Phoenix, Kate stopped Walker. There's one more thing you should know, she said. The Council ships, they'd been acting strangely the past few days. Something has them scared. Walker thought of the silence, the mysterious entity that had hunted the ancient civilization and might now be following them. We might have brought something with us, he admitted, something that even the Council fears. 3 days later, everything was ready. The probe was programmed and loaded with evidence that would expose the Council's lies and atrocities. As Phoenix maintained its position in orbit, phase shifted and undetectable, Walker gave the command to launch the probe. It disappeared in a flash of light, leaving behind the now familiar ripples in space-time. Almost immediately, alarms blared across the ship. Captain, Diane called out. The Council ships, they're on the move, and I'm detecting something else entering the system. On the view screen, a dark shape appeared at the edge of the system, something massive and formless, seeming to bend light around it. The silence, Emma whispered. But to everyone's surprise, the Council ships weren't moving toward Phoenix. They were fleeing from the approaching entity, abandoning the planet and their mining operation in panic. They're more afraid of it than they are of us, Jack realized. Walker made a decision. Prepare for immediate departure. We're taking everyone we can from the surface. Over the next hours, Phoenix shuttled hundreds of humans from the labor camp to the ship. They couldn't save everyone. There wasn't enough room, but Kate organized those who remained into resistance groups, armed with weapons seized from the fleeing guards. As the silence drew closer, Phoenix activated its graviton sail. With the extra weight of the refugees, the ship strained, but the sail held. Course set for Earth, Diane reported. Walker looked back at the view screen, at the world they were leaving behind, a world that humans would reclaim one day, and at the silence, which had unknowingly given them the opportunity to escape. "Take us home," he ordered. Phoenix vanished into compressed space, leaving behind ripples that would eventually fade. The probe would reach Earth weeks before them, and when they arrived, humanity would be prepared, not just to defend itself, but to take its rightful place among the stars. As the ship accelerated toward home, Captain Walker addressed the crew and refugees gathered in the main hall. They said no one could build it, he told them, his voice carrying through the ship. They said it was impossible. They underestimated human determination, human ingenuity, and human courage. He looked at the faces before him, the crew who had risked everything, and the refugees who had endured generations of captivity. The council thought they could keep us confined to one world. They thought they could control our destiny. But today, we proved them wrong. Today, humanity takes its first true step into the stars, on our own terms. The ship hummed around them as it raced through the cosmos, carrying with it humanity's future, a future that no one, not the council, not the silence, not even the laws of physics themselves, could prevent. Because when humans are told something is impossible, they don't give up. They build it anyway.